much on my mind these days, and I recently, at least once every 2 weeks, cannot sleep. Luckily this time I slept from probably 11:30 till like 3, so that's good. Last week I pulled a full-on all-nighter, did not go to sleep till 7:30 a.m., which is wild, but I've had a few nights where I've slept so well. Unfortunately, that was not part of my journey this evening. So I'm gonna see how quietly I can make a batch of my favorite cookies. I just wrote out my recipe. This is Ambitious Kitchen's brown butter chocolate chip cookies, and they're absolutely amazing. I will have to make a couple adjustments just because of ingredients, but they still always turn out still so good. I'm also gonna write down a to-do list for later today. Unfortunately, my laptop is what we use at night to watch TV in bed. Otherwise, I have some emails to respond to. I have a couple vendors that are out of country, and so I get emails at some weird times. But anyways, I'm gonna write down a to-do list.
I got no issues, it's kinda nice, like running water into a paradise. Got no drama, feels like we arrived.
We don't even have cereal, so I'm eating granola. Okay, let's do this. Comment below if you think I'm gonna wake him up. We'll see. So you want the milk solids to separate, and then they fall to the bottom of the pan, and that's what browns. Okay, so if I swirl it, can you see all those milk solids? It's like the white stuff at the bottom. That's what we're needing to turn brown. Okay, so now you can kind of see those solids are browning. You can definitely smell it. If I stir, you can still you can see them as well. So you don't actually want to stir that much. Swirling is great, but I wanted to show. It's important to scrape all the bits off because the stuff that's like stuck on the bottom of the pan, it's not stuck, it's just at the bottom of the pan, that is like the browned milk solids that you want that give it the nutty toffee flavor. So you also want to pour it out so it stops cooking because it can burn really quickly. While this cools, I'm going to do my dry ingredients. I do 2 1/4 cups of flour. When you measure flour, you don't want to just scoop. You want to have like something else. So you pick it up, lift it, and drop it into your measuring container. That's going to help you get a more accurate read if you're doing it by volume instead of by weight. Like that. And then you can level it off. Unless the recipe says to pack it, don't do that. 1, 2. Whenever I make this recipe, I double it, but I only have 1 egg, which isn't even enough for like the recipe as it's written. I have found this recipe to be very forgiving, so I'm not worried about it, but definitely no way I can double it today. Teaspoon of baking soda. Aren't these labels adorable? I made them. Maybe I could like sell them, I don't know. What is baking soda gonna do? Baking soda messes with the pH. It also helps with browning and maybe provides a little bit of lift. Don't quote me on that. A little bit of salt. I also like to brown my butter first, so then while it's cooling I can do this stuff. Just a little bitty bit of salt because I had salted butter. You also want to mix your wet ingredients and your dry ingredients separately, especially dry ingredients. That's the main one. It's because you want like the salt and the baking soda to be distributed evenly. Now I'm going to go add some brown sugar to my brown butter. So here is the browned butter. It's so different, and here you can see those are all the milk solids that have been browned. Okay, the brown butter smells so good, but it's still so hot. The heat is also kicked on, which means I can be a bit louder because it's just kind of a background and it'll cover my noise because it's also pretty loud in the bedroom. 1.5 cups of brown sugar. It's a lot, but it's good. So somewhere, Kyle read to put marshmallows and stuff to help with the moisture, even though our OXO or OXO already has that moisture clay insert. So apparently now there is marshmallows in my brown sugar. I did not know that until I just opened it up. There's also marshmallow and the salt. Kyle's in his cooking era. I'm letting him do his thing. I will say I often do just a little bit less brown sugar than the recipe calls for. Not for a huge reason. Like I said, I found this recipe to be very forgiving no matter what. It just still tastes so good. So I'm going to mix that. Hopefully that'll cool enough, and then I'll be able to add the eggs in, because if I were to add the eggs to this hot butter, it would not go so great, huh? I do have 2 vanilla options. I have this bourbon vanilla from Trader Joe's. This is a 21 and older product. Then every fall they come out with this vanilla bean paste, and I buy several. The rule of thumb is to always use vanilla, and normally more than the recipe calls, but this recipe is actually like great, and so it's like a full tablespoon of vanilla, which is right on board. Okay, we're back. It has cooled significantly. So the recipe does call for an egg plus an egg yolk, and I only have an egg. But again, I'm not too worried about it. Yes, we'll probably miss out on some extra like richness that extra yolk will bring, but it's still gonna be fine. But I would recommend you use the extra egg yolk if you have it. We're gonna go ahead and do that. It's important to mix your eggs well with whatever, like fat or oil, because I believe the egg is mostly water, and so mixing it with like an oil, you just want to make sure that it like really emulsifies. I don't know if that's what I'm looking for. I'm gonna go with this and add a whopping amount of vanilla. This smells so good. I'm actually gonna add some imitation. Here's the thing, imitation gets such a bad rap. I started using it when vanilla got so expensive, but here's the thing, imitation vanilla gives you such a straight punch of vanilla that most people actually prefer it. If you look at ATK, they did like a whole thing about it. I will link that video. And so I like using both. Yeah, because I do like the imitation vanilla just has a pure vanilla flavor. I believe it's the vanillins is what they call them. I could be saying that completely wrong. Whereas like vanilla extract has more nuances of vanilla flavors. So I like using both. I'm gonna mix this up because it definitely needs it. Really should have shown a video of this before I mixed it, because before it was honestly separated and kind of clear with like the sugar kind of in the middle, but now it's kind of turned into a thick, almost caramel texture. So that is kind of what I'm going for. Another omission that I'm making, because I just don't have it, is the recipe calls for like a tablespoon of Greek yogurt. I often use sour cream. I believe it's just to kind of up the protein content while also adding some extra moisture and richness. But again, I could be wrong on that. But the closest thing I have would be either mayo, which is essentially eggs and oil, but I'm not gonna add it to this, but if it was like a cake, I would add it. And then the other closest thing is cottage cheese, and that's just, we're omitting it, it's gonna be fine. So we're gonna mix these in. I'm gonna mix this in and then add chocolate chips. I like to do a mixture. Oh, I should not have put that in the sink. Dang it. Kyle does not like that much chocolate in his chocolate chip cookies, and he likes mini chocolate chips, whereas I'm like, give me all the chocolate. So I do often basically make a separate batch for him for love. I have 2 recipes in my recipe book. One is for the really awesome brown butter cookies, and the other is for really great chocolate chip cookies. And one time Kyle made the really great chocolate chip cookies thinking that they were the brown butter ones, and he was severely disappointed when he realized that they were not the cookie he was looking for. And like I said, I always double batch this. This is the first time I have not double batched it. Even the first time I made it, I double batched it because I knew it was gonna be so good based off of the recipe, and yeah. So what we do is we roll them and put them in the freezer in these containers, and they're so easy to just have on hand at all times. I'm gonna make a batch for Kyle. It's so sad that it's only a normal sized batch. It looks so small because I'm used to it being so much. Here's Kyle's with mini chocolate chips. We do milk and semi-sweet. We have Nestle right now. Goutard is my favorite, but you work with what you got. Kyle did the chocolate shopping last time. Milk. That's probably a little more generous than I needed to be, but we're not complaining. This dough also does need to be chilled. So what works best, and I think she mentions this in the recipe, which again I will link down below, is chilling it for like maybe 15 minutes, then rolling it into balls, and then doing like a full chill with it. But it's just easier to work with when it hasn't been chilled too thoroughly, if that makes sense. This might not be clever, but I didn't want to get out something to cover this, so I put the lid on this container, flopped it upside down, it covers it all. We'll see. Is she smart or is she crazy?
Picture perfect, it don't exist. But when I'm with you, don't have to question it. True devotion.
I was able to tidy everything. Don't think I woke Kyle up because our pantry is connected. It's in the same hallway as our bedroom. Anyways, I almost microwaved the salt for no reason, just sometimes your brain does things, and mine took the salt jar and started going for the microwave. I really want to lay on my acupressure mat, but it's in the office and opening that door is so loud. But I really want to lay on it. I kind of don't know what to do at this point. It's like 5:40 now. I think I will wait 10 minutes, roll out the cookie dough into balls, and then maybe try to go to bed. I just spent like 20 minutes editing the footage that I took this morning, whatever you want to call it, because that's who I am. And my weird little is she crazy hack worked pretty well. So I'm gonna roll these. So here's the thing. If your cookies are too small, they won't have like a good texture variation. You want them to like be kind of gooey in the middle, crisp on the outside, not like dry. But then you have a bigger cookie. Also, if you're like Kyle, you just want to eat the cookie dough, so hard to know, honestly, how big to make them, in my opinion. So it's just whatever.
To feel an unrealistic high, we get our fix, but never satisfied. Give you all of my love and you give it right back. I could fly, I could fall, I know you got my back. Never thought I would find.
Alright, so we've got 2 tubs of cookies. Mine is a little bit bigger because I added more chocolate and bigger chocolate, but the actual dough amount is very similar. So anyways, these are gonna go in the fridge. It is 6:03 a.m. Thank you for spending a couple hours with me this morning. If you also have some insomnia, I'm sorry. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for making cookies with me. I will link Ambitious Kitchen's recipe down below, as well as our favorite kitchen things and the ATK video that I mentioned about vanilla. Good night, good morning. Let's go see if I can fall asleep.